Now it has started. Okay, నేను Sapna introduce madam to participants.
Can you hear my voice
Yes,
now?
yes, yes. You are
Good morning, everyone. It's a great privilege to introduce today's guest speaker, Dr. P. Seema Ma'am, DST Women Scientist, University of Hyderabad. Ma'am have completed MSc Physics from IIT Roorkee in 1987 and PhD with specialization kinematic studies of HII regions using high resolution IFPS from Physical Research Laboratory, Ahmedabad. From 1994 to 1996, ma'am worked as research associate at Infrared Processing and Analysis Center at California Institute of Technology, California, USA. From 1996 to 97, ma'am worked as postdoctoral fellow image analysis of solar eclipse from Physical Research Laboratory, Ahmedabad. Presently, ma'am working as DSc Women Scientist at University of Hyderabad School of Physics. Thank you.
okay. Thank you, Sapna, for your nice introduction. We are, dear participants, we are fortunate enough to have such an eminent scientist today with us. I request Dr. Seema ma'am to start the session.
Yeah, first of all, thank you. I want to extend my thanks to Dr. Shakuntullah Garu for inviting me on this platform and giving me an opportunity to interact with a large number of students whom I want to motivate for research, basically. Thank you. And good morning to all of you. It's again pleasure to meet you. So I hope my talk motivates you for doing. So let me start very quickly. Yeah, I mean this one. Yeah, can you all see the screen?
No, madam. No, madam. Stop presenting.
तो शेयरिंग नहीं होगा ना फिर।
स्टॉप शेयर कर जाओ फिर से नहीं वो गूगल क्रोम जब मीटिंग में फिर से अब शेयर कर करंट शेयर प्रेस करो इस पे हाँ शेयर प्रेस करो अभी फिर मीटिंग हो ना एक मिनट हुआ नहीं दो now ask them
Can you all see the screen now?
Yes, madam. It is visible. It is visible, ma'am.
Okay, because I'm using Zoom Meet first time. This one I use Zoom Meet. I'm using Google Meet first time.
full screen
So please, yeah, if something happens, let me know. If you can't see, yeah, now you can see the screen.
Ma'am, it is visible. Your screen is visible, ma'am. You can continue.
Hide.
नहीं वो चलेगा वो उनको नहीं दिखेगा
But I want to say something.
नहीं वो नहीं जाएगा हाँ
Okay. Okay, I'll start then. Um, Yeah. So, as the title suggests, I want to give the novel research ideas in research, what is happening right now, to unravel them. When I say the mysteries of the universe, I will be taking you all to a journey of the universe so that you understand what are the basically the objects there and the science behind that, and how the present instruments are helping us to unravel some very very interesting thing. And I have put this image here of a black hole because this is the most marvel thing happened. We could image a black hole, so that's why I put this, but I'll come to that in my talk about details about that. So I want to start with Stephen Hawking's few lines, because we all wonder, like where we have come from, what is this universe, this kind of questions, and whether we are alone here or there are other people, many things. So that according as he has said, we also wonder, when we look up, and till now, we could not find the answers to these questions, but now we are slowly trying to do so, with these new techniques coming up. So, all of you all, from the time we are born, we are very fascinated by looking up in the sky, and all this twinkling of beautiful stars. We look up, when we look up in the sky, we are very we really admire these beautiful stars, because now that you see them, I wanted to tell you, actually there are around 5,000 stars we see with our naked eye. That means only with our eye, if you see, you can see 5,000 stars. That again, if you put a telescope, there are actually billions of stars. But the interesting thing is what, if you all, any of you all have noticed, I'm sure you have noticed that some stars are blue in color, some stars are red in color, some look little whitish. So this, all these, colors actually basically they indicate that the stars are also having some temperatures, different temperatures. So if they are very, very hot, they will look blue. If they are little cool, they will look red. But stars are also have different sizes. Okay, they are not all of same sizes. So we see that some are giant stars, some are very small dwarf type of stars also, like we have in human beings. So that kind of things are also there. And how it happens, I'll just give you exposure to that. So before that, I wanted to tell that, like these stars, when I said that they have temperatures, they're looking at the color also, they were classified into different categories. Like when I say O, B, A, F, E, K, M, accordingly, I know I will understand the temperature of the star. So as you can see, if I say yellow star, or our sun is what? It is somewhat yellow whitish star. So naturally, now we know that it is a heat type star, and it has surface temperature. I'm talking that is 6,000 degrees, not inside temperature. This is all the surface temperatures, because we see the surface, isn't it? So if a star looks now reddish, you know that the temperature is just 2,000, 3,000. It is a very cool kind of star. Okay, but if it's a blue star, it is extremely hot. So these ideas you get, depending on the colors and all. Now, most of the stars are made of hydrogen and helium, mostly. And all the material, like how the stars form, I'll be coming to that. But basically, any gaseous body between 0.08 solar mass to 60 solar masses, we can have this formation of star taking place. Okay. So, just to tell you that the mass of the sun, when I say it's about 2 into 10 power 30 kgs, okay, it's not a small number. So we normally give any number with respect to our sun, so that we get some feel of it, some idea. If I write some huge numbers, you will get confused. We give in terms of solar mass, solar radius, like that. So here I'm saying, if any gaseous body is between this, it can form star. So let's see how it forms. Okay, so basically, there are huge clouds, giant molecular clouds in the universe. Okay, they will be all gathered here and there, scattered here and there. Okay, so initially nothing is there. Okay, but then after some time, they start to form clouds, and it will be something like, it's, they call it as stellar nurseries. Why? Because like stars are found in these molecular clouds. Okay? Just like we have nurseries in the hospitals, these are also, they are called as stellar nurseries. And when that cloud, it will get lit up when a star is formed. So this is something one of the pictures here taken by NASA, by Hubble Space Telescope. The space telescope, you all must have heard about it. See how beautifully it has shown this. Just to get an idea about, because of this knowing about Orion Nebula, it is nothing but again, you see here, you see how the star is born in this cloud, this one of the nebulas, this small one. So you see how they get lighted up. Okay, so this is the formation of star happening in this cloud. Okay, and many stars. Okay, not one star. Let me just give you briefly the idea about formation of star. I mean, how the star is formed. So that when I tell you later, like I'm talking about black hole, you will know what black hole is. So what happens? How a star is formed is important, because initially what happens? There are huge molecular clouds, as I said. What happens under the force of gravity? These clouds will start shrinking. It will start to collapsing. As it keeps collapsing and decreasing in size, but what happens, because of this collapse and shrinking, heat is generated. It becomes smaller and smaller, smaller, smaller. But it will not stop. Will it stop? Yeah, it has to stop. Then only we will get a star. When will this stop? Okay. So what happens when the gas keeps shrinking? It increases in temperature. It's so huge. It is almost 10 million degrees Kelvin at the center. Okay. So when this happens, it is also very, very high. What takes place? Nuclear fusion takes place. You all are familiar with nuclear fusion. Nothing but hydrogen atoms coming together. I told you there is almost 70% hydrogen atoms are there. So they come together and we get this huge amount of energies released. And because of that, now this inside energy, it is balancing the inward gravitational energy coming from the cloud when it is collapsing. So they both balance this in inward energy and outside energy, they balance. And then at this point, we can say that star is born. I mean, and now no more collapse is happening. The star is stable. Okay. Now a star is formed this way. And this nuclear fission, I want to mention here that it is a huge source of energy. As you can see, it will release a lot of energy, millions degrees and all. So, why it is important is now, because as we go through this journey, we find that because of this study of this universe or stars or these things, we get it, and other things are coming out. Like now we know, oh, fusion is happening. So why not have this fusion on Earth? We are always deprived of energy, isn't it? We have power is less, so we try to burn coal. Then we look for thermal energy, hydroelectric energy, wind energy, and we are trying to get some energy. Still, we are not sufficient. So this is a very good source of energy if we can have it on Earth. But the problem is what? Because it is so hot. I'm talking of million degrees. So even lead will burn, isn't it? It will just melt away. So this gas becomes plasma here. Now you can't hold it in some container. So you have to have a special lab for that. You have a instruments called Topomax. So this plasma research can be carried out to get this fusion on Earth, and that is happening in India in one or two institutes. A famous one is Indian Institute for Plasma Research in Gandhinagar. So there also this kind of research is happening on plasma to generate fusion on Earth. So you please you can read in detail and see. That is also a place to go and do research. Okay. So just as a sideline, I have told you this. Now I told you that okay. Now we are talking about a star is born this way. Okay, we'll go back to our star. So now a lot of energy is released, star is formed. But what happens? Will the star continue to stay like that? No, because why? Because now hydrogen is going on burning. Isn't it? Like we burn petrol in the car, say, and we get this car starts moving. But once petrol is not there, car will stop. Same way, when the hydrogen is getting over, slowly, slowly. So when the hydrogen gets over, then small amount of helium will burn. But slowly there is, as you see now, when the star has started becoming dimmer, the energy is becoming less because hydrogen is reducing. It should have something in the core. The center part of it is called core. Okay. So here something should be burning, isn't it, to balance the gravity. But slowly when the hydrogen is getting over, the star is its capacity to hold the whole material. It's expanding. The outer parts will, like they just puff off like this, and temperature drops here. They become like reddish and Now they are becoming cooler, you see, and they are becoming like giant. Okay, so this is how a giant star slowly forms, and we'll see what happens. Now, what happens when I say hydrogen is over, helium is over, the star should die. The fuel is not there, means what? Star should die. So again, there are two ways for the stars to die, depending on their initial mass. Okay, so if the star is having initially less mass, how it will die, and how if it has more mass, what happens? It will have more different types of elements other than hydrogen, helium, some 1% of carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, silicon. Okay, but this it keeps on burning one by one. But ultimately, when it reaches iron, it's not possible. If our periodic table in chemistry of the elements, you know that when you bring two iron atoms together, now you won't be able to get energy. You have to provide electricity. Okay, so now we won't get energy from bringing two iron atoms together. So now it doesn't stop. Okay, fusion stops. So there is no fuel at the center. Now the collapse will begin and star has to die. It will finish. Okay, so the stars die in two different ways. Okay, so I want to mention here about a very important thing called Chandrasekhar limit, which many of you all may be famous also, may be familiar with. This is very, very, very important because it helps us to understand the evolution of a star. Basically, the age of the star. So, star doesn't have, like we don't have a fixed age, okay, but stars have a fixed age depending on their mass. Okay, so they die in different way, as I told you. But Professor Chandrasekhar, he has given us this limit called 1.4 solar mass here. If the mass, it is less than this, then what happens? The star has to die very quickly. It will die. It will die quietly, not quickly, but it will die slowly and quietly. The collapse will happen. Okay, the mass I'm talking of is around sun's mass. This is the sun's mass. This type of star. So our sun is basically comes under the low mass star. Okay, but there are very, very big stars. Okay, they are having mass greater than 8 times the mass of our sun. So how they will die? So because they will die very fast, they have to die. We can compare with this analogy with a rich man and a poor man. You have to understand. So if this sun is like a poor man, low mass star. So if you have less money, we tend to spend it slowly, isn't it? We don't have fluent lifestyle. Slowly, slowly, little, little. So we have money for a long time. But what happens with the rich man? He has a big lavish lifestyle. So what he tends to do is he has to maintain the lifestyle. He has to have sports cars, this, that. He'll spend the money very fast. So he'll finish his money very fast. So similarly, like stars also. Okay? You can understand that. So high mass stars, they die very more soon than the low mass stars. And when I say high mass stars, then only we get this black hole. So I'll just show you that. And I want to just pay our tribute to Professor Chandrasekhar because I want to show that see, he is the one who got the Nobel Prize. He can do it. So as far as 1910, he had done this work, and he is the one who got. So we all also should get motivated or inspired by. So when I said low mass star dying, it will be something like this. You see, what happens now? Nothing is there at the center. All this gas and dust is thrown off. It can't hold it. Okay? So it is thrown off like this. Okay? And there will be center dense core here, and this is all a circle. As you can see, it's called envelope. Okay. So this type of thing is called nebula. Planetary nebula because initially when they saw, when they didn't have telescopes and all, it looked like a planet to them. So they named it as planetary nebula. So these are also very interesting objects, and we as scientists we all study this, to understand the evolution of star. So we can get signals from them. We take the this thing, light coming from them, and then we try to analyze and understand, what has become of this star. So this type of thing happens. This is thrown out like this, and a planetary nebula is formed. This is how the low mass star will be. Okay? I'll show you some beautiful pictures. See, they can have this type of structures. How it depends on how the material is thrown out. And once everything is thrown out, the center part will pull down. Okay, and it will expand, and slowly it will also die. Nothing will remain here also. Okay, and the surroundings, it will mix in the surrounding. Everything will lose. Now I'll come to massive stars. it's more than mass of eight times mass of the sun. So what happens, when these stars die, as I said, they don't die quietly. Suddenly, this center, this core here, it will not be just quietly dying, but there will be a big explosion, like boom kind of stuff. We get it in a bomb, atom bomb, when any bomb also in Deepavali you have that. So that way it will die. So what
Seema
happens?
ma'am, sorry for interruption. Your voice is breaking, ma'am. Little bit.
Okay, so I will use my microphone.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Sorry for
Okay. No,
interruption,
no,
ma'am.
thanks
Thanks.
for telling. Thanks for
Okay, 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 okay.
Yeah, let me know if you all can hear now properly.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You can continue.
Please let me know if it's not audible, okay?
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I hope you all are able to hear me. Please let me know. So I'm talking of massive stars. So I was telling you how the low mass stars die and end up forming a small planetary nebula kind of objects. Okay, and then finally they just die out. Similarly, when the massive stars die here, they make a explosion. Okay, and then a supernova is formed. Okay, this whatever mass is just thrown very in a very loud way, and outside. So then this is how you must have heard of supernova. So I wanted to mention supernova is born with this way, and the center core will be very very dense here in this case because it's a very massive star. Okay, and a neutron star could also this central core is left here. Na? This is a neutron star or black hole. Now you see how black hole is formed. Okay, so if the mass is less than 8 solar masses, we can get a neutron star, or otherwise we'll get a black hole. But the center part is going to be extremely dense. And I'll just show you a picture. This is a real picture. It has been taken in X-rays because this supernova, no, this they will emit in X-rays. So this is called a Crab nebula. Okay, and this remaining part of a supernova. See how this is all ejected out. This is called supernova remnant. And we give some names to them depending on a catalog. So we call them bizarre objects. So just it's called M1, but basically Crab nebula. It's because it's having a shape like a crab. You see. So I'm just showing this to get an idea of how they look. And these are all are being studied, even though they are millions of kilometers away from us. Uh, yeah. So now we'll come to black holes. So black holes. This is a stimulated image I wrote because this is how it is imagined. When I said there is a central core here, a lot of material will be around it, but this is center part is going to be here very very dense. Okay. So let me tell you actually means what black holes. When I say black hole, the name suggests that a hole is black, okay, and a dense central part like a point it is at there, and it has an extremely high gravitation, okay. So now when I said black means because even the light cannot escape, the gravity pulls everything inside, okay. So that's why we say it as a black hole, and now you may get this feeling that when I'm saying black hole, then how can we, observe the black holes? How did we get to know? Okay, we came to know this because there is the matter around the black hole. That hole, it will be rotating extremely fast and emitting. It's now very energetic. The radiation is very energetic. So energy is very high. Because of that, we'll get some X-rays emission, okay, and gamma rays emissions. So we observe those, and then we came to know that okay, see till now we can't even think that there can be a black hole where we can take a photograph of real black hole. This is all from the from the idea we are getting from the material around the black hole. Okay, so we are going that way. So just to give you an idea about the weight. When I said, you can imagine I had this for neutron star. Black hole is still heavy. So you see, if you keep a sugar cube in one pan and then all the humanity in the other one, it is equal to that much. So when I say dense, I'm telling you, you can imagine the density. So that it's a small, in size, it is extremely small point. Okay, it's very tiny thing, something, but it is weighing so heavy. So imagine the density, the gravitation. When I say gravity is very high, gravitational force it is having. So that will be extremely high. Okay. So what is now interesting is that these black holes, they were predicted by Einstein. As long he got Nobel Prize in 1916 or so, no? And he gave this general relativity in 1905. Okay, so how it came to his mind was when he did, these are all a lot of mathematical calculations involved. Okay, nothing was observed that time. So they were doing a lot of calculations and they were seeing that, okay, when a huge mass is collapsing and becoming a small dot, then they'll put those equations, and then they calculate and they got this idea that something should be there like this. But you won't believe that he didn't believe in black, that it can be possible. He said according to calculations it should be there, but I don't think he said it is possible that there is a black hole. Okay, but his general relativity, why did we have to use general relativity, was because we had this Newton's theory of gravity. Okay, you all have studied in intermediate and all. So the Newton's theory, we know that it works very well, everything was fine. But when I spoke of these big, huge masses on astronomical sense, they found that then it fails. They cannot, this laws of motion and all cannot hold. They fail when it comes to very extreme, intense gravity, large masses. So then what happened? He came up with this. Einstein came up with these equations and his theory of general relativity, which was a very revolutionary thing in those days, because what we thought was, actually we thought that space and time is a flat thing, isn't it? It's a flat thing, sun is at the center, and just this, because of this gravity, these moons, all the planets are revolving around that. But what general relativity said was, gravity is not flat, but this space time is warped space time. Means what? It is, that is curved. So it's something like this, curved. So if you put a very heavy object, if you put a little heavy low mass star, what happens? It will generate a well here. Okay, and if you have a heavy mass star, it will generate a big well. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
So, no, this voice.
Yes, madam. Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So this general theory of relativity showed that the space time is curved. Okay, and if you put if this experiment as at home, if you try to do, take a bed sheet, and hold on the four corners, and if you put a heavy object, heavy ball or heavy iron, anything, at the center, that it will just bend like this, and it will generate a well kind of thing. And if you put a more heavy, it will just fall like this. See how. So this is what, to get a idea of what is general relativity, and now space time is curved basically. And this is how, normally they thought light will travel in a straight line, but no. So what happens, light also starts bending towards that. Okay, so this is what is happening when there is a black hole. So the stronger the gravity, the pull will be great, so the bend will be more. So this is also entering here, and then it's not seen because it's just swallowed by our black hole. It's a monster there sitting there. This is a simple. We do the idea. We know that if you have this is a body which is having less mass. We are going in increasing order here. So you see, since the mass is less here, you can see that if you throw something, can go very high, isn't it? As you are increasing the mass, you see how you can't throw the thing very much high up in the air. Okay, this we use when we send a rocket also, isn't it? We have to make the speed of the rocket very higher. It has to escape the gravity, so that much we have to match the speed. Then only the rocket can go and leave over Earth's atmosphere. So same thing here. So you see, when we have extremely high mass, you can see even the light cannot escape. It is falling back. So this is just to give you an idea about the black hole, how they form and how they behave. There are just a simple parts we call. Parts means basically it's not a something, we can define, but we can imagine this. So this is basically a boundary of, there has to be a boundary of a whole also. As you can see here, something is falling. This is a boundary. So this is called, this boundary type of thing is called a event horizon. Okay. So what happens in, if anything is going beyond this here, then it will fall inside. Okay. Only nothing can be escaping from here. So that's why I called it this. These are nothing but light or photons. So if it is outside this event horizon, you can see that they can escape, no problem. But if it is inside, it falls, and if it is on the boundary, the light will be, it will be stationary here only. And this point, this center dot, is called singularity. You all must have come across this in your mathematics. Okay. So this is what they have got these equations from. So the whole mass is come to a dot here. That is called a singularity. And the whole mass is compressed into this. So this has infinite density, they say. Okay. So this is just to get an idea about black hole. And because when I told you earlier, like, now see how this because of this high intensity, what happens? You see, magnetic fields are generated around the black hole. So they are perpendicular to the center, like this. So jets, you can see the jets, in this radio regions and gamma rays, and this part is called accretion disk around that. This is the black hole at the center here. So what happens? The material which is, it is revolving around it in a form of a disk, and because of these magnetic fields, these some ions, these are charged. Now it becomes charged ions. So they are going this way. So if you see this picture, it will look something like this. So it has a jets coming out from there. So that is the reason we are able to observe these jets which are in radio and gamma rays. In black holes also, when I say black holes, each time there are different types of black holes. So main important ones I have told you, they are called stellar black holes. Why? Because they are formed from stars. Just now we saw that how the star will die and form a black hole. Okay. So here we are saying the mass of it is 20 times the mass of the sun. There is something called intermediate black holes. They are nothing but, as the name suggests, they are between the very small black holes and the supermassive black holes. So these stellar black holes, and there are some supermassive black holes. Between them, we also have intermediate mass black holes. What are intermediate mass black holes means? Actually, these are again some modeling. So basically, they do, and they find out that it's possible that the stellar black holes, they are combining together, merging together basically. When they come, when we have a crowded region, like we have a lot of traffic, there also, if there is a lot of stars in an area, like in a star cluster, what happens initially, then when they form a black holes, these black holes tend to, they also merge, they keep merging, and then we tend to form a black hole. So that type of black hole is called intermediate mass black hole. Okay, and then one more simple black holes are supposed to be there, miniature type, which are supposed to be formed when our universe was formed, or it's called Big Bang. You all must be knowing. So this time we had formed these miniature black holes. They were there initially, signatures of them. And then important one here is supermassive black hole. These are actually formed when very two huge massive black holes itself, huge ones, when they collide, they merge together in a huge, almost billion times that of mass of the sun. That huge black hole is formed, and they are always found at the center of the galaxy here. This here. Okay, so we saw that these are important because these are super massive, and other ones are lying around in these arms and here everywhere. These are stellar black holes and small miniature ones, intermediate ones. But the main supermassive one, it's found in most of the galaxy, all the galaxies, you see. So that is an interesting point. I just want to tell you, when I said X-ray, you all, just to give you an idea, since anyway in BSc you all must have covered this. So this is actually, when I say why they are emitted in X-ray, because the energy I said is extremely high. Wavelength will be short here. E is equal to h c by lambda. You know that equation. From that you know that lambda is small, so small. So this our electromagnetic spectrum has so many wavelengths emitted. Now visible, when I say visible, they say there is only a small window here. So when I use a telescope in optical region, I can get only this much in this. But I have a telescope in X-ray. I have to have a telescope in radio. Radio also should be there. So all these missions for different telescopes should be there for observing the object in different regions, how depending on how they emit. So when I said black holes, because they are emitting only this, they are having this high energy, they won't come here, they won't come in the visible part and I can see them. So I have to use X-ray telescope for this. Okay. So this is a very famous our Chandra X-ray observatory, which is of course not ours but NASA's. NASA has launched it in 1999, and this is how it. This is the one it has done a lot of work and it has given us a lot of idea about this supernova remnants and black holes. So these emissions they could detect and get it in X-rays and gamma rays, and because it is above the space, it has a very high resolution. You see. So it has 25 times sharper than the best telescopes available on the ground that time, whatever, before 1999. So it is so high, it is resolution. Just to give you a feel again, this is what it is equivalent to reading a newspaper from half a mile. So that much resolution it has, it's so much. So because of that, what happened, we could get more idea about the black holes existing from the universe, far away from the universe, because they are extremely faint, isn't it? So you need very high power telescopes. See, just to again, you see, if I have this in Hubble, we have optical. No, I told you visible, optical. Visible means optical. So we have Hubble Space Telescope in optical region. So you see how it looks. But when I have this Chandra X-ray, now you can see more that there is a strong source here that is visible here now. So we can just know something about this our galaxy Milky Way. All of us. So Milky Way galaxies actually it was formed 12 billion years ago. Okay, and it is not a single galaxy roaming around. Okay, we have around 50 galaxies around that in a local group. Okay, it's a local group kind of, and there are many more groups like that. So our galaxy happens to be in a local group, and that group is called as Virgo group of galaxies. Okay. Virgo cluster of galaxies. Okay, so it is, we all know these galaxies are moving, expansion is happening, they are moving away from us at the speed of this, and there are so many billion stars present in that. And so this galactic center, our galactic center from our Earth is about 26,000 light years, and 1 light year is 10 power 13 kilometers. Okay, so we are placed in that arm of the galaxy. So you all, if you get a chance to see, please go and see this from the mountain top, or you can go to a village where there are no light pollution, and there you can see Milky Way looks like this. This is the center, but the center still is so faint because we have a lot of dust around. So if I take this X-ray view, you see again we can see more clearly the source is there, some source is here. Okay. So why I'm showing this is because our next research-oriented topic is coming. So we are going mostly these 4 black holes were very famous. So this is called Cygnus X1. This is our Sagittarius A, our Milky Way galaxy, the center. Okay, and then we have M87, and this is Centaurus A. So we are going to see which black hole we are going to study. So what happened was, I told you that Einstein, he proposed that when these huge massive bodies like neutron stars and black holes, when they are rotating around each other, or also when they collide or merge, what happens? There are ripples forming in the space. Okay, and these ripples, are called gravitational waves, and we are going to study. We have studied gravitational waves to understand that. Okay, now we know that somewhere very far away in the universe, 2 black holes or neutron stars have collided. Okay. See, this we if you throw a stone in the pond, that we get something like this. And most of us must have done this in childhood. So this actually that time we didn't know, but these things now when these waves are going around like these, ripples are formed. Same way ripples are found in the space also. And when these 2 black holes are colliding, it's like we are throwing a stone, and then you see there are some fringes formed. These are called interference patterns. Okay, this is what we are going to use to study the collapse or collision of how the black hole happened. Gravitational waves are created. Okay? So for that, a very state-of-the-art instrument called Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. It's basically, because the name is so big, we call it LIGO. It's famous as LIGO. Okay, so this was really a world's largest gravitational wave observatory built. This was built in US actually, And it was collaborations were there from 80 institutes, throughout the world. And I will just tell you, we call it blind here. Why blind? Because normally observatory means we have the idea like this, isn't it? This is as a optical and infrared Keck twin telescope. I'm just showing this, but you all must, if any of you all must have seen any observatory, it has a dome, isn't it? It has a dome because it will see the visible light from here. Okay, and then only we can see the object. And if some of you all visited this Birla Institute here, Birla Planetarium, you all must have seen this kind of thing, and they have a small telescope also, or any observatory. This is a famous, very well-known in Hawaii, this telescope. So this I just showed you for comparison. So I'm calling it blind because this guy doesn't have any dome or anything. LIGO observatory, but it's not a dome because it's not going to see the object, isn't it? It's only going to monitor the waves, and so it has only a detector which will monitor all these ripples happening. Okay, and it has so this instrument. They have two LIGOs, situated 3,000 kilometers apart in USA. So one is in Washington, Hanford. Other one is in Louisiana state. It is Livingston place. Is the Livingston? Why I'm saying why did we have two? We can have one. You see why I'm saying two? Because there are going to be a lot of noises around. So to cancel these local noises, we take the two waves and then they cancel each other. Only the original signal. If they have some identical signal, okay, we know now that this is true. This is correct. The proof of that. And therefore, they also had a third detector. I mean, not they means not US, but in Italy there is a one more LIGO which is called Virgo. So again, we can compare this and verify with this third detector about the signals, because it should not be some spurious thing coming and we are saying, oh, okay, gravitational waves have come. We can't talk like that, And you see, they are so small. We have to observe. See, the disturbances have to be so small. They are extremely 1,000 times smaller than the nucleus. So of the order of 10 power minus 18 meters. So you imagine how extremely small disturbances you are supposed to detect, So you have to be extremely careful. And the optics when all goes in is extremely, extremely state of the art. So what this LIGO does, it works in simple, our Michelson interferometer, It was developed by Michelson and Morley in 1885 or so itself. See, so many years back, which is nothing but as in many of you all had, I think, studied in BSc, that it has two arms, L-shaped arms like this. A beam splitter will be there. So when the light comes from here, it splits, and there are two mirrors which reflects here on and off. And finally, this is the detector here. So the fringes are formed here, as I was telling you. So some fringes are formed, which shows the details of the object in the sky. So this was the same principle, 125 years back what we had. We use this in now present LIGO, okay? So LIGO, only difference with the Michelson interferometer is what? That, difference between Michelson and our LIGO is scale. When I said scale means what? The length of the arms, it is not very small. See, in Michelson and Morley, it was 1.3 meters long. We have to make 4 kilometers long. So imagine these huge, strong, long arms, which are tubes, basically, tubes which are made so long and they have to be vacuum sealed and they have to be placed underground. So we have to look for such a place which doesn't have any noise, okay, and it has to be without any problem. We should be able to get that much distance. And why we need this? Because to detect gravitational waves, the longer the arms, the sensitivity of the instrument increases. And for that 10 power minus 8 meters, when I said, it is actually 10,000 times smaller than even a proton. And for that much sensitivity, you need a huge, long arms. Okay. So that's why we have to construct that. That is the most challenging part, you see, how to make that. So that's how they improved slowly, we'll see. So what they did, now they, with 4 kilometers was not enough. Okay. They wanted all 1,200 kilometers, in 1,000 kilometers. But that is not practically possible to make huge, long 1,000-kilometer vacuum sealed tubes, So what they did was they incorporated something called Fabry-Perot cavities. Actually, if you all go and see, there is Fabry-Perot interferometers, which are nothing but they have two very, nice coatings, extremely high reflective coating mirrors, and they reflect between them continuously. This is what happens, lot of internal reflections, and that will increase its reflectivity, and we'll get high, intensity signal here. So that's what they incorporated in LIGO. So this is Fabry-Perot cavities, they are called. See these two mirrors, see these two mirrors. So see, Michelson didn't have this, so they incorporated this. With this, they could have 300 reflections. What happens because of that? So this laser is here, no? So this laser also will get high power here, and because they can't make this high power laser also, they need almost some 750 kilowatt laser, but that is practically not possible. So they used 40 watts laser, and they did reflect to this mirror, this reflecting mirror here, and increased its power, and then that's why and the distance now they got 1200 kilometers. Okay, then this problem is solved of the long arms it has to have. Okay, just by incorporating this something called Fabry-Perot cavities. There is a Fabry-Perot interferometers. It gives more details about it. So just inserted that, and then they made this 4 kilometers. I'll show you the picture of that actual picture. See it, actual picture in Livington. I was telling you, Louisiana statement. So they did something made like this. See how long they have to go, and there is only one detector is there. So that's how it actually looks in actual terms. And what happens also, like I said, this mirror is here, another mirror is here. So see this laser light, it is put here. So what happens in the normal conditions, these two will come here, and when we see on the detector, they will cancel each other. Because why? Because if there is no change in this length, this path length is same, then it will be same, isn't it? They will exactly match these waves. Okay, then nothing. So it is called a destructive interference. So the nothing is there here. So 0. So same. The original one is same. We know nothing happened. Okay. But suppose, as I have given this picture, see these two black holes continuously, they are rotating around itself in the space time. So what happens is, see these gravitational waves are there. So initially they are small, and then also when they happen to collide, merge together, a huge another gravitational wave is coming like this disturbance. So that has monitored here. So what happens, the one mirror will be same, another one will give less, it will move. Because of that, you see now they can't cancel. One is like this, the other one is little shifted. So when the detector will then see it as a light here. So this light wave will hit here. Nothing is cancelled here. No? They are difference of phase is here a little bit. So that small difference has to be monitored. And then we say that, oh, we have seen gravitational waves. Even if a passing by truck is also there, means we have to filter out that noise. And this noise has to be extremely no noise. Extremely careful about that. So with all these precautions and all these things, that's why they had to have 2 detectors initially only. And then they verified from third one in Italy and all, and then they could monitor these gravitational waves, and they could know and see, and parallelly they are observing this source also there in the sky with X-ray Chandrayaan. I told no, not Chandrayaan, Chandra X-ray telescope also is there, and then ground based also X-ray telescopes are there, gamma ray telescopes are there, sub-millimeter. So all they are parallelly also focusing at that point. Okay. And in the sky, and they are getting light from there, and they are trying to verify, okay, something happened. So this is a very, very marvel of the century. That's why I took up this. And we are also, India is also going to have a LIGO in India at a place called Andha in Maharashtra, Hingoli district. And this is the project where so many institutes are involved. Main one is actually IUCA, which is Inter-University Center for Astronomy Astrophysics in Pune, and RRCAT, Raja Raman Institute for Advanced Technology in Indore. And we, as I mentioned you about IPR, Institute for Plasma Research, has to be here somewhere. So these 3 are the main ones, and these other ones are also joining them. And we are going to start this. Actually, it was supposed to start in 2024. But because of this cabinet approval, these things get delayed. So it still didn't get final approval, even though there is some preliminary, all things are over. It's getting the final approval. Otherwise, it was to start in 2024. And this is a very, very great opportunities, I wanted to mention to you all. even in international, as I said, Caltech, California Institute of Technology is having this LIGO, in US. So they also offer these internships, undergraduate internships. So please, you all go and check that. It is under SURF program, some 10 weeks internships where you can go and work. So please try to go and apply and see. And with if that is not possible, also in India, definitely in these three places or many other, and mostly these places also, you go to the internet and check the link. They also are offering this in lot of internships, and we can get into knowing all this. We get to know the experience of the laser development, vacuum, the optics part you will learn, and of course definitely computer and actually the physics behind. So these all these things that can happen, just if you all want to have some research after your graduations, so we can join this program. And one more major development of the century again was imaging this black hole. As I showed you this picture, till now we were getting only some signals, and we know, okay, black hole is there, kind of stuff. So what they did, they tried to take a picture of the black hole, photograph of the black hole. It is another very, very revolutionary thing happened. So this was done as I showed you, for a galaxy called Messier 87. I showed you earlier. Why they selected this was, this doesn't have dust lanes. It was just a round circle, elliptical galaxy it is called. So it doesn't have any dust, so it's easy to observe. We may think why they didn't observe Milky Way center. We have also Sagittarius A black hole there, but we have a lot of dust obscuring. So it was difficult. Maybe next target is that. So they started with this, even though it is, you see, from Earth, its distance is 53.5 million light years. Okay, so imagine 1 light year, as I said, was so many kilometers, 10 power 13. So it is so far away, and also it's so huge. It is having mass of 6.5 billion solar masses. So it's very heavy and very far. So they took this, and this shows the location. This is a Virgo cluster constellation, as you know. Virgo Kanya, they say in India. So in the constellation Virgo, this is there. This galaxy is there here. See, they have taken again. Chandra has taken this photograph. So it is the center. If you see, it looks like this. This picture is in X-ray. So now this telescope, which did all this work, it was called Event Horizon Telescope. Okay. So what it did was, now we know that when we observe anything from the sky, we need a huge diameter. The aperture, as we call it for a telescope, that aperture has to be huge. Then only the bigger the aperture, the more light it can collect, and you can see more faint things. Okay. So now when we are talking of looking into the sky so far away, they needed a telescope with an aperture which had to be the diameter of the Earth, that much huge. So obviously, you can't have that optical telescope. So you can't have. Mostly what they do is, since the signals come in radio, they try to use this called VLBI. Okay, this technique, VLBI, it is called very long baseline interferometry, which is nothing but what a lot of arrays, a lot of small radio telescopes are arranged in an array. Okay, and then they are synchronized on the same object, same time, and that will form a huge kind of a virtual telescope. Okay, so that as I said, the distance between the two ends of it has to be very far, so that it covers the diameter of the telescope. So what they did, they kept at South Pole, and they kept in Spain. And another important thing is not that two of them, if we keep, we can get. We have to have an array, I said. No? So the more the telescopes, the resolution will be better. As you can see in this. This is the array of this is VLBI. This is how these dishes, this radio telescope looks like this. So there's just a dish, and then as we have dish for our, this Tata Sky and all. So same way these dishes are there, the radio waves coming. So what I was showing you was this, as I said, the timing is the key I have written here. Why? Because when I'm saying the radio waves are coming and so many telescopes are there, I'll just show you where all they are there at different places in the world. Okay. Now I can't have a signal collected in one place, go get it in another place. No, it has to be at the same time. Okay. It has to be synchronized in up to a fraction of a millimeter. Okay, I can't say my watch was okay, yeah, 1 minute slow or 1 second slow. What is there? You can't do that. Okay, You have to have exactly matching. And how do you do that? You all must have heard of this atomic clocks. They are ultra precise atomic clocks. So they use those clocks to match the timings, to synchronize this. Then only they could get the signal at the exactly the same time. See, when the signal is coming, see, all the telescopes should record it at the same time. This is another a big challenge, So we have to go to such minute details of thinking, That's what I'm trying to emphasize. So they managed to do all that, but now you see after all that, how much should the resolution be? When I talk of resolution, you should be able to capture an image orange on the surface of the moon. That is the resolution I'm talking about. Okay, it's called angular resolution. So what I said was like EHT, when I'm calling this Event Horizon Telescope, it could achieve 60 micro arc seconds of resolution. It was to be required around that, So it could do that by doing all this kind of array of telescopes, the VLBI technique they have used here. And so it is so powerful. If you have an orange on the moon also, it can see that. That much powerful it is. When I talked of angular resolution, you see, just to make you understand what angular resolution means is, when you point a finger like this, that corresponds to 1 degree. Okay, and 1 degree means it just like our normal clock. When we say 1 hour is nothing but equal to 60 minutes or 3600 seconds. In astronomy, we define as angular resolution as 1 degree equal to 60 arc minutes and 3600 arc seconds. Okay, so that, and to when our finger corresponding to 1 degree, and if you point out like this to the sun, the diameter what we can see sun or moon, because they happen to be looking same size from earth, so it is 0.5 degrees angular size I'm talking about. So the diameter of sun and moon is just 0.5 degrees here I'm telling. And if you have a you see, if you have a whole hand, it is 20 degrees. Okay, fist is 10 degrees. So this angular size, when I said 40 micro arc second kind of stuff, imagine how very, very, very small it is. So EST could achieve 10 power minus 6 arc seconds, microseconds I said, micro arc seconds. So this, imagine this, how small it is. When I say even the finger is 1 degree, it has to be so much small resolution we have to go. Then only we can take this picture of the black hole. But see, when I said the size, when I use only 3 telescopes, see how horrible it is looking. Very fuzzy, nothing can be seen. So this, when I use these 8 telescopes, I used at different points in the globe on the Earth. See these antennas. Then you see the image. So that's what I want to say when I say angular resolution. Okay, it has to be that much that we are able to see the thing properly, everything in our size. So these are the telescopes placed at different places. This ALMA is famous in Chile. Okay, and I said Spain has this, and Hawaii had this much. South Pole also one was there. So these all Arizona, Mexico, all these many places they have put, and like this, basically it should cover the whole Earth so that it corresponds to the diameter of the Earth. So huge telescopes, and at different millimeters, they had sub-millimeter radio telescope here at Kama observatory. So this type of thing we had, this array that could took all these efforts, and they took the signal at the same time at these telescopes. Then only they could. And then what happened? Now this happened in April 2017. But how much data was in the order of 5 petabytes. This was new to me also to hear, petabytes. Till now I was familiar only with megabytes and gigabytes. But this has to be petabyte. Petabytes means 10 power 15. So it was a huge data, So they had to somehow manage to, that our internet speeds, it could not even handle that much. So what they did, they collected on these kind of things, and then they recorded that. And then physically they took those things to one location there, in planes. And from all these 8 sites they took it, and then all this data had to be combined, to then they could only create an image. Okay, so this data combining and all, how much time it took. Even though the data was taken in 2017, the image they could only make it possible in 2019. So this whole thing process, see how much patience is required basically. And of course the knowledge, you have to be good. Now here you're exposed to the computer part, you have to be knowing how to do all this handling, and then joining the all the data together. So all this happened finally, and then here you get, finally we got this image, and it was, all the scientists were jumping, because we could. Can you believe that we could image a black hole? This is the image of a black hole. It came like this, and by joining all those data, and this was actually a proof of the this thing of the Einstein theory of general relativity is true. That was proved actually now. So that's why I said it is a triumph, even though Einstein himself, never believed it's possible, but it was possible, and now we know, for sure. Now till now, people have done calculations, showed that there has to be black holes, and some signatures we got it indirectly. But this is the first picture taken in April. We got it finally, that okay, yeah. So what I was saying was, this is another major project, and for this, they got Nobel Prize also. These are 3 scientists who got that. The very famous Penrose, Roger Penrose. He did a lot of calculations, mathematical calculations. He's a great scientist again. And these 2 people, they have done a lot of observations from their telescopes and different places. So they all put together, they could do this work. And we know one more person who has also done a lot of work on this was our Stephen Hawking. He's a great motivation, our scientist. So he was a student with Penrose. He worked with him. So he has so many theorems associated with Penrose. So that much years of work and all work together. And then this Genzel and Gens I showed you, they took these observations from that observatory I had shown you, from that Mauna Kea, Hawaii, and from very large telescope in Atacama. Then there is there are a lot of adaptive optics involved and whatnot. Everything they put together, they were able to do this work. So what I want to tell you all is there. So in this also, this line also, this type of research is going on. So one was this LIGO I had told you, and then this Hawaii, you have many big, huge telescopes. These black hole projects are going on in so many places. Australia has a square kilometer array thing, and there is CERN. You almost have heard in Switzerland, that Geneva. This large hadron collider research, very very state of the art research is going on there about the particle physics also, where they discovered this Higgs boson, that small particle, subparticle on a nucleus. So that also was done by them. So you all can have. I hope some of you all at least will happen to be able to go and work in one of these places and do some very extraordinary research. I mean, that was actually the whole idea. And just I want to end with some lighter note that about the astronomers, and that they are not that they are sitting in the telescope kind of stuff and all, and we don't tell the horoscope, which many of the all think, that we know the horoscope. That is not true and all. So, but anyway, I want to thank you all for questions, and I'll welcome any questions.
Thank you, ma'am, Seema ma'am, for your enlightened lecture on unraveling the universe, mysteries of the universe, and really have taken us to the universe and enlightened us from birth to death of a star, and black holes, formation of black holes, gravitational waves, and resolution. Most important factor of the telescope, resolution of a telescope. To the participants, dear participants, do you have any queries? You can interact with madam by unmuting yourselves. Madam, I have one doubt, madam, and I have some query. And do you have any telescope in the University of Hyderabad, ma'am?
Actually, unfortunately, University of Hyderabad doesn't have astronomy department, but they they do have people working on cosmology.
Ah.
So me and Dr. Ahmed, as you had met him that day, we have
Yes.
installed one 12-inch telescope just before the pandemic.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So we wanted, in fact, to do some projects for, in fact, undergraduate and graduate students.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, once it works, when maybe in this semester or something,
Okay.
it is working. We installed it. So only thing is we can do some simple projects there, but not PhD level or a huge research thing. But we can get a feel of many things. So I mean, your students are welcome anytime when we start that.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Still, we have some unresolved problems, resolved issues, mysteries of the universe like dark matter.
In dark matter, unresolved in the sense, I mean, like it is there definitely. Okay, and people are studying that, as I said, a lot of theory. When I said cosmology and all, the research part, that is also important. How it is happening and where it maximum universe is covered by dark matter. Yes, it is there. It is there, but it
Yes,
naturally
ma'am.
doesn't interact. No? So this other matter interacts. That's why we could electromagnetic interaction is there. So we are possible to see that. See that, but dark matter is just in a diffuse state. It is not clumsy state
Yes, ma'am.
where it's lying like. So it is the, of course there is no doubt about that.
Okay, ma'am. Participants, you have any queries, you can interact with madam. Do you have any questions, queries? You can unmute yourselves and you can interact. Or you put it in the chat box. Madam, sure, ma'am. We will visit along with our students once for the telescope, for viewing the telescope.
Yeah, you can do that, and also there are some operational telescopes in
Yes, ma'am.
Kavlur is a place in which is operated by Indian Institute of Astronomy.
Yes, ma'am.
So they do, have this visitors, this thing also days, and they have some big 2.3 meters telescopes and all, and some 4-5 telescopes there. They have a campus, beautiful. So I
Okay, ma'am.
suggest that you all should visit that, to
Okay, ma'am.
really, you can literally have a feel of what is happening and
Yes, ma'am.
get the students in that direction.
Okay.
I don't know whether they are. You can ask the students to write. They can also write to me on
Okay.
email if they have any queries, because many of them may be shy to ask now. But as I had suggested, they can go and do this research internships also.
Yes, ma'am.
Places, yeah,
That will be useful for us, ma'am, for our students, UG students.
right. As a institute, as a college also, you can have this collaboration.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So that was the whole idea. I think you wanted.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah, please. I hope you go forward in this direction.
Okay, ma'am. And what type of internships, madam, we are going to offer for the students?
Yeah, I mean, the more details anyway, they can click on the
Okay.
links are provided. But like I told about Caltech, that will be summer internship of 10 weeks.
Okay, okay. 10 weeks.
And about this, Ayuka has many internships. Pune Ayuka,
Okay.
even this, as I told you all about this IIA, astronomy, IPR, PRL. So they also have, just Ayuka is very, very forward in encouraging universities and colleges. So please, all the students go and check that and apply for that. They have some winter schools, some internships. Naturally, they can do only in summer, na? So summer internships
Summer
are,
internships.
yeah, it's very good exposure actually, I should say.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Now, Miss Srilata will propose the formal vote of thanks. Srilata?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm audible, ma'am.
Yes, you are audible. If you have any queries, you can interact.
Yes. A very good afternoon to all. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver vote of thanks on this session behalf of Department of Physics and Electronics, RBY Women's College, to all dignitaries who are present here. I would like to thank our guest speaker, Dr. Seema Ma'am, DST Women Scientist, University of Hyderabad, for this webinar with an inspirational lecture on novel research ideas on in unraveling the mysterious of the universe. Despite of her busy schedule, thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank our respected secretary cum correspondent, Dr. Sudarshan Reddy sir, and our beloved principal, ma'am. I extend my gratitude to the respected head department of the physics, Dr. P. Shakuntala, ma'am, for encouraging to organize this such type of webinars. And I would like to thank our faculty members and students and other faculties who are from other colleges. Thank you, ma'am. Once again, I thank one and all for who are present for this success of this event. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Srilata. Thank you once again, ma'am, for your later lecture. Thank you, Seema, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Sure, definitely we will visit your university, ma'am, for observing telescope, viewing observations. Ma'am, Rangapur Observatory, is it working, ma'am, their telescope?
That's why I didn't tell you because we
Okay.
had a good telescope, one meter. But
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, long back, unfortunately, even I made observations with that for my PhD work. It was very nice,
Yes, ma'am.
but because of lack of maintenance, because
Uh,
optical telescopes have these mirrors. I told you, no.
yes, ma'am.
So they have to be maintained again, and because of this moisture and other things, the thing will go bad. Like normal our mirrors, you see, and this
Yes, ma'am.
what happened was there was no maintenance and no care given and all those things. I don't know, funding problem and all those things may be there. That's why they could not do that, it seems. So it got now it is not working, but they do have this small one, the 12 inch, which I was saying, no, that they have kept there.
Okay,
So
ma'am.
that also maybe if you can take time from our Shanti Priya ma'am, and you can visit always. I think they also have
Yes, ma'am.
visiting a day and all, so they can see that with that if you want.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, participants, faculty, and other participants from other colleges and universities. Thank you all once again. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Girls, you can attend your remaining classes, other classes.